What is going on, guys? We're going to look at this overemployed post on the subreddit here today about this guy that lost all of their jobs. And maybe we'll see if we can avoid this happening to you if you do become overemployed. And then we'll also go through the comments maybe for some more entertainment. Okay, so he says, I messed up. 2 years ago, I was happily at J1. An employer recruited me and I never even applied. And LinkedIn wasn't even set to open to work. Job two was project based. So sometimes I had work, sometimes I didn't. So total take home here pay was $220,000. Cool. So they offered twice my salary, unlimited overtime, generous bonus program. I was hesitant to leave job one as I was happy there, but new job one, let's call it job 1.2, said they could see me there long term. So I jumped. Onboarded at job 1.2 when job 2 announces they're no longer taking projects in my area. And with job 1.2, I'm at 100,000, 180,000 plus bonus. So a year later, I replaced job 2, eventually mainly out of boredom. Total take home there is 240,000, and I buy a house only based on job one income. So that's amazing. Good job there. 6 months ago, job 1.2 announces mass layoffs. They lay off 50% of their workforce. I get a good severance. I take on more work at J2. Then the project ends early, and they have no work for me until at least late 2024. Especially with this recession, guys, you really never know what to expect in terms of workloads. Doesn't matter what it looks like in the current moment. Things change really quickly. Last 6 months, I've tried to replace both. I took the first offer I got for 80,000, thinking I could replace it. I've gotten very few interviews, which is usually not the case for me. And I do have healthy savings thanks to overemployment, but managing the mortgage on a fraction of the salary I had at job 1.2 is eating through it fast. So he's stuck basically at a job here for 80,000, and that's basically where he's at. He can't replace his two jobs overall. Um, so writing this to say you never know what can happen. Your grandma was right when she said live below your means. So quick comment here. He's completely right. I mean, obviously he's reflecting properly the way he should here. You never know what can happen. And this is why I also usually recommend if you haven't been overemployed for multiple years, you don't want to make huge purchases if you don't know if you can take it, right? Obviously, this guy's saving, so I can't comment on his completely personal situation in terms of his finances. Maybe he'll be fine since he has healthy savings here. But overall, you want to be careful with making huge purchases. If you want to use some extra disposable income on expensive holidays or dinners, that's fine to some extent because that'll never lock you down, right? Now, you might not have enough savings for the future, but you're also not going to be screwed with huge bank loans that you're going to have to basically default on. So let's see what some people are saying here. So yeah, it sucks, but at least you have something for now. It's a little excessive maybe, but I have a year's worth of bare minimum expenses in my emergency fund. So see, this is a great example where whatever happens to suitable block guy here, he'll be fine. He has expenses up to a year, which is honestly amazing. Most people have maybe 3 months, if that, maybe 6 months. So a year is great. Before COVID, I would have been comfortable with 1 to 2 months worth, but now I know things can go bad for a long time. So that's a really key point here. COVID kind of unearthed that for a lot of you, and it showed that things can change super quickly. Now, a lot of you actually benefited from COVID because you got remote jobs, but you also have to consider that a lot of people lost their jobs at the same time, right? Now we were kind of untouched in the tech industry to some extent, but with the recent recession and more layoffs that happened, kind of things slow down a bit now, but they're kind of picking back up. You have to be careful with having savings. You have to really make sure you have some savings. My wife and I lost both our jobs working at the same company. Mistake in hindsight. That's actually an interesting point. You never know if you have a spouse or whoever you're living with working in the same company. If you both get laid off, which is kind of like a blanket layoff, you're both kind of screwed, right? I really thought about that. So they had about a year's worth of savings in the bank, and by the time they found full employment again, they didn't have to touch it. So see another case here where saving helps out. Now I know it's kind of basic, common sense advice, but a lot of you, when you become overemployed, you kind of get ahead of yourself. You've never touched that much money. You haven't seen those big of numbers in your bank account, and then you get too excited and you start making big purchases, buying expensive cars, houses, whatever. So you have to relax on those things. So yeah, just basically what I just said. I just read this. Don't get cocky with OE. That's what you have to remember, right? So in an era where the average mortgage is 6 to 10 times the take home, especially now with interest rates being crazy high, overemployment, living way below your means is smart given the risk OE brings. That's how you have to have that mindset. Whether or not you actually fall to that risk, it doesn't matter. You have to remember that it always exists. This guy says, so just going to read a few more here. I can't seem to edit the post, but want to say thanks to all of you. You're right. I'm better off having spent the last 2 years playing Minecraft than I would be had I never taken the leap at all. Even if I'm in a downturn, blah, blah, blah. Getting a response to my game that I can be thankful for the time it lasted. I hope. Exactly. It doesn't matter what you've lost, because if you've touched that peak, that pinnacle of not just the final financial salary, whatever, knowing you can bring in that much value and money really change your perspective for the entire future part of your life. You'll always be able to think in your brain that I did it in the past, I can do it again. Let's pull it off, right? So that's a really great blessing to have. See if there's anything else interesting here. Still further ahead. True. Been there, late 40s, blah, blah, blah. I don't think you messed up. You took a risk, paid off for a while. You got a house out of it, rent a room out, blah, blah, blah. See, this is all good points, right? This is the thing. You have to realize you're all taking a risk, whether you're overemployed or not. Everybody is taking a risk. If you're not overemployed, you just want one job, but you're taking a risk since you only have one job. If you get laid off, you're screwed. If you are overemployed, you have two jobs. Sure, you might be safe if one job lays you off, but it's possible both jobs either lay you off or one finds out about the other one, fires you. You know, it's always a risk, and that's the game you play, whether you are overemployed or you're not. Make the house OE, rent out the. See, funny comments here. But yeah, overall, guys, just want to reiterate here, don't get too crazy with spending. Make smart choices. And if you do buy something very expensive, this guy, he bought a house. So to some extent, at least you can make use of that. Don't buy crazy, stupid stuff like supercars or something, because honestly, a lot of you guys could afford it. Let's say you're making $10,000, $15,000 a month. What's a $2,000 lease even on a Lamborghini? You could literally afford that if you wanted to. I mean, obviously not like a brand new Lambo straight at the factory, but maybe a used one, whatever. But yeah, just make sure you save your money. Don't get too crazy, and obviously enjoy yourself still, but don't get locked down to huge loans. If you guys like this video, this content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.